Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the invitation to present on the Duality in Space project at RAND that we're conducting at RAND Europe and across all of our RAND offices at the moment. We're incredibly looking forward to engaging further with you even after this talk. So I'm going to be first presenting a bit more what this project is about. So it's called Duality in Space because we want to reflect that space is a very highly, not only congested, but a lot of the capabilities that are currently in orbit are contested in the way that they are seen and classified by all of the actors currently working together or not on a lot of missions. So we want to advise on what is the best way forward for governance and norms regimes for all of those dual-use space systems. So we want to explore the landscape that exists right now, but then have realistic and even very ambitious, but very optimistic that we can offer to all of our allies and partners across the globe. And I will very much emphasize that, and how to not only advise on what are the best policies and norms, but most importantly, what are the best enforcement mechanisms that can be implemented, and then build this community that is a community that is today at the Space Sustainability Summit, and that we've seen across a lot of external engagement and conferences that we are very happy to engage with. So I am presenting today the finding of the first year. We are starting our second year right now. We had a baseline review within virtual workshops for the first year, but for the second and third year, we're really looking to have in-person workshops and engage with 3 regional focus: the Americas, and then Europe, Middle East, North Africa, and the Indo-Pacific. So just a quick note on why that matters. I mean, I'm sure with all of the things that have already been said about dual use throughout yesterday and today, you already know why that matters. But I just want to reiterate here that if there is no consensus on what should be done about the duality aspect of all of the space systems, then we are running towards escalation in space, which could be a form of escalation that is the one that is that should be the priority to avoid. So we want to do this research because we think that studying governance of the space systems really help reduce the misunderstandings that we have between nations and commercial actors as well. So we want to build that trust and that consensus. And then with that, we want to shape those responsible norms that I was mentioning to protect global interests. So we talk about collective security, we talk about economic development, and we talk about the long-term stability of space activities for the benefit of all users, and a mutually assured benefit on the long term for everyone. This is a bit a deep dive a bit on what has happened during the first year. So I'm going to start with our baseline review that was made it's basically a global literature review on which we really wanted to focus on dual-use space systems, on the capabilities that you can see here. So SATCOM PNT, ISR/AEO constellations, and ADR. We've then come up with new technologies / capabilities that are important to look at as well, but that's what we started with. And then we also focused on reviewing what that meant in terms of the already existing policy frameworks and international engagements. So here we focused on national space strategies, the OEWG, COPUOS, and TCBMs that, because I'm a defense-focused analyst, I would read that as transcontinental ballistic missiles, but that's not what it means. It means transparency and confidence-building measures, which also people have mentioned a lot in the last talks and sessions, and then we have selected nations globally on and seen what was the private and government investment mechanisms already in place, and then how they collaborated with their external partners, what data they had available for researchers like us, and finally how they applied all of the different space systems that they already had. So I'm just going to go quickly through our country selection. If you see your country here, I can explain to you why it's here. If you don't see your country here, I can explain to you why it is not. We have had a very complicated task in reviewing that globally, but please do feel free to take a picture of that, and then we can absolutely talk during the break. So before going into our virtual workshops, we've had those conclusions that say that obviously countries see space as a valuable domain, and they do have they are part of international partnerships with multiple dialogues, but they have very centralized strategies that are ambiguous and implicit approaches to the dual-use conundrum. So I'm going to then go towards our workshop findings that confirmed a lot of that findings from our literature review, which means that, yes, there is definitional ambiguity, that for Europe-Eurasian partners, it was more on the operational side of things. In the Americas, there was a difficulty in risk assessments, and for the Indo-Pacific, it was more about then having this ambiguity fueling regional mistrusts. As you can see, ADR is a very strong, is a subject that has this sort of technical function versus that intended use that can be seen either as benign or disruptive, a bit for everyone. So it's about being sure on mission type, hostile use, and ownership of assets. So this clarity can be offered through governance and cooperation. So we've seen that in Europe and Eurasia, obviously, the regulation was based on, for now, on capability and behavior-based approaches. But of course, in the Americas, this regulation is a bit more complicated to bring forward, just like in the Indo-Pacific, in which you have a lot of nations with sovereign interests and national security priorities. And so we've seen that there is a lot of efforts in, especially Indo-Pacific, to bring in minilateral efforts, and the Americas is also trying to do the same. Obviously, in the EU, we have a very flexible and cooperative models. However, Russia is still isolated and has a state-centric control. And then I'll just go into the investment focuses. There was also, we've had a lot of findings during those proceedings, and again, I would be very happy to talk to you more about those findings and recommendations. But here we really see that in terms of investments, there is a lot of focus on what is already existing in terms of SATCOM and EO and ISR, with for the Americas and Europe, whilst the Indo-Pacific already has ISAM and ADR capabilities. So it's really about focusing on what's already out there. But it's really important to people recognize that it's important to govern that and not have that sort of strategic ambiguity. So thank you so much for your attention. We will have a lot of deliverables coming later this fall. The baseline review that I mentioned, this set of 3 regional workshop proceedings. We're also going to be having a promotional video about this that will explain also the overarching strategy of the project. And we would love to engage with you on more on our deep dive in terms of final recommendations and findings for government. I would be very happy to send you even our deliverables in exclusivity should you wish so. And we're really open to the dialogue and bringing all of those people together, because otherwise it's not duality in space will remain a mystery for everyone, and let's not hope that it stays like that. Thank you.